All right, everyone, strap in. Today, we're taking a deep dive into UFOs, and you guys have sent over some really fascinating stuff. We've got excerpts from this interview with David Grusch. He's that former intelligence officer who's basically saying, hey, the government's hiding stuff about UFOs, so let's get into it.
Yeah, it's definitely controversial, but this guy Grush, he's got this background, right? He was in intelligence, and his testimony has so much detail. I mean, it's tough to just be like, nah, fake news.
Totally. So let's just jump right into the biggest claim here. Grush says there's this whole secret government program, and they're out there, like, retrieving crashed UFOs, reverse engineering them, the whole nine yards. I mean, if that's true, what are we even talking about here? Like, are we talking super advanced tech, aliens, something even weirder?
It could be all of it and then some, right? He even
Right.
compares it to, like, the Manhattan Project, how secret that was.
Hmm.
Like, he's suggesting they could be using the Atomic Energy Act to basically classify this stuff as special nuclear material, keep it all hush-hush.
Wow, that's a pretty scary thought. Like, a program so secret that's not even following the normal rules? But, okay, why? Why so secretive? Why not just tell everyone what's going on?
Well, think about it. I mean, imagine what would happen if all of a sudden the world finds out we're not alone and that these, whoever they are way, way ahead of us technologically.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. There'd probably be chaos. But Grush also claims he saw this stuff, non-human biologics, he calls it. I mean, that sounds like alien bodies, right? What does that tell us about these UFOs?
Well, it could mean they're like biological beings, not just robots or some kind of probe. And that brings up a ton of other questions, right? Like, what's their biology like? Where did they come from? Are they anything like life on Earth?
Okay, so maybe not little green men, but maybe something we can't even comprehend. It's getting really interesting. Now, Grush talks about this connection between UFOs and nuclear stuff, too. He's saying there are all these sightings near nuclear facilities, some even messing with nuclear weapon systems. Why this fascination with nukes?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest mysteries. Are they trying to, like, protect us from ourselves? Some people think so. Or maybe they need something from those sites, some kind of resource. Or maybe they're super interested in nuclear energy, fusion especially, watching our progress maybe.
So it could be like a good thing, right? Benevolent intervention.
Yeah.
Or just strategic resource gathering. Or maybe they just find our whole splitting the atom thing totally fascinating.
Who knows? It's impossible to say for sure.
Yeah.
But it makes you think, doesn't it? What are they up to? What's the end game here?
And it's not just Grush, right? He mentions this book, UFOs and Nukes by Robert Hastings, and it's full of accounts of UFOs around nuclear sites, incidents where missiles, like, malfunction during sightings. Sounds like something straight out of a movie.
Right. It does make you wonder, is there something about nuclear technology that attracts them? I mean, the energy itself. Or maybe the potential for destruction.
Okay, so far we've got potential visitors. They might be biological. They've got tech we can't even imagine. And they're super into our nukes. What else does Grush tell us about this whole secret program?
Well, he says he kept getting blocked. Every time he tried to find out more, it was like hitting a wall. That's actually what made him suspicious. Like, okay, there's something big they're hiding here.
Classic cover-up. But if the government's hiding this, who else is in on it?
He talks about private companies like aerospace companies, and they're involved in the reverse engineering, supposedly. He even says he knows where this is all happening.
So not just the government, but this whole network of companies and researchers working in the shadows. This just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Makes you wonder, right? What have they found? What are they doing with all this technology?
And are they using it responsibly?
Good question. One we should definitely be asking. But for now, let's shift gears a little. Grush mentions this whole thing about anti-gravity research in the 1950s. Specifically, this guy, Townsend Brown.
Oh, this is where it gets really interesting. I've heard about this. Brown was like the electrogravitics guy, right? But what's the connection to UFOs?
Well, Grush is suggesting that Brown's work was way more successful than anyone knows. He even says the B-2 stealth bomber, that design, it uses tech based on Brown's research.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying the B-2, one of the most advanced planes ever, could be based on tech we got from studying UFOs?
That's what he's saying, and there are some interesting pieces to this puzzle. Brown worked at Martin Corporation, which later on became Lockheed Martin, the company that built the B-2. And then there's this guy, Robert Sarbacker, who keeps popping up whenever you look into UFOs. Brown knew him too.
So we have a connection between this anti-gravity guy, a bunch of corporations, and super advanced military tech. This is like a conspiracy theory, but like a really well-researched one.
Totally. And it makes you think, right, if the government was interested in anti-gravity in the 50s, what sparked that? Was it because they were already studying UFOs?
Okay, I am hooked. This is better than any spy movie. But now I want to, go even further down the rabbit hole, Grush just talking about time travel. Are we really going there?
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from it, does he?
Yeah.
He even mentions this guy, Jacques Vallée, who thought that some UFOs, maybe they're not aliens at all, but like humans from the future, they've figured out time travel and they're coming back to visit.
Okay, whoa, hold on. So not just aliens, but time-traveling humans, too. If that's true, I mean, why come back to our time? Did their history project go wrong or something? Are they trying to, fix some future catastrophe?
It's a wild thought, right? Maybe they're like studying us like we study ancient cultures, you know? Or some people say they're trying to guide us, kind of nudge us in the right direction.
But wouldn't that cause, paradoxes? Changing the past could mess up their own future. It's like that grandfather paradox everyone talks about.
Exactly. And that's where things get even weirder. Grush talks about quasi-projection, which means basically some UFOs, they might not even be physical objects, at least not in our dimension, more like projections from a higher dimension.
Projections, so holograms, kind of, not actual spaceships.
In a way, yeah. Think about that holographic principle where you can have like information about a 3D object encoded on something flat, 2D. Some physicists think our whole universe might be like a hologram, with higher dimensions projected into our 3D world. Maybe that's how some UFOs show up. They're like projections of higher dimensional beings or technology, something like that.
Okay, so that would explain, UFOs disappearing instantly or changing shape, or, how people say the inside of a UFO is bigger than the outside.
Right. It really challenges how we think about physics, about space and time. Like maybe reality is a lot more fluid than we realize.
So hold on, we've got these UFOs, maybe they're biological, maybe they're time travelers, now we're talking about interdimensional beings. Is there, one explanation that covers all of this?
That's the tough part, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
fit into any neat little box. It's like we're trying to understand something totally alien using our limited human knowledge of the universe.
So what does it all mean? If even a little bit of what Grush is saying is true, what are the implications for us?
The implications are huge. I mean, if the government has this technology, this knowledge, maybe from studying UFOs, the question is, are they using it responsibly?
Good point. Are we talking about breakthroughs in energy, transportation, medicine, or are we talking about weapons?
It's both, right?
Mhm.
Hope and concern. Imagine we could have clean energy from anti-gravity or space travel with advanced propulsion. The possibilities are crazy. But then imagine that tech in the wrong hands, used for bad stuff.
It's like that Pandora's box thing, right? Amazing things, but also dangerous stuff we might not be able to control.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why this transparency thing is so important. If these programs exist, people have a right to know. We need to talk about it, scientists need to study it, and we need to figure out ethically how to handle it.
Okay, but let's talk about the disinformation part. Grush talks about psyops, like the government intentionally messing with the UFO thing. Why would they do that?
Could be a few reasons, right? Maybe they're trying to make real whistleblowers look bad, confuse people, or even just cover up what they're doing.
So, the classic deny, deflect, distract, make everything so confusing people just give up.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It definitely makes it harder for researchers, for anyone, to figure out what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
Separate the real sightings from the hoaxes and the misidentified stuff.
But, and this is really important, even if there's disinformation out there, that doesn't mean the phenomenon isn't real. I mean, there are tons of credible people who've seen UFOs, pilots, radar operators, astronauts. There's something happening here.
I agree. We can't just write it all off as like swamp gas and weather balloons, right? There's enough evidence to take this seriously.
Okay, I have one last question that's been bugging me this whole time. If all this is true, if the government really does have technology that's beyond anything we can imagine, does that mean we're living in a science fiction movie, basically?
It's a great question. And it could be that we're on the edge of this huge technological revolution. I mean, if we unlock the secrets of this tech, imagine what it could do for our world.
Are we talking flying cars, teleportation, cures for diseases?
Maybe, but there are ethical questions too, right? How do we handle this kind of leap forward? Will we use it for good? Or will it make things worse, create more inequality, more conflict?
It's a two-sided coin, right? Solve our biggest problems or completely change society as we know it.
Exactly. And that's why we need to talk about it. We can't just ignore it.
All right, so we've got potential alien tech, time travel, interdimensional beings, tons of questions. I need a minute to process all of this.
Me too.
Yeah.
But hopefully this has gotten you thinking,
Oh, good.
sparked your curiosity about this whole UFO thing.
Oh, absolutely. And it's made me wonder, if Grush is right and the government has this knowledge, this power, why are they waiting? What are they waiting for?
That's the big question, isn't it? And maybe we'll be trying to figure that out for a long time.
It's kind of crazy, right? We're talking about tech that could fix climate change, give us like unlimited energy, even change how we understand reality itself. But the biggest problem might be the people in charge. If they're hiding this stuff, for whatever reason, aren't they like holding humanity back?
Yeah, it's a good point. Makes you wonder, is all this secrecy really necessary? Are they protecting us from something?
Yeah.
Or are they just trying to protect themselves, their power?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's hard to know for sure, especially when we're talking about something as potentially, I don't know, disruptive as UFO tech. But okay, let's try to see it from their side for a second. What if they are trying to do the right thing? What if they're being careful, trying to understand it all before they tell the world?
That's definitely possible. I mean, imagine trying to integrate this stuff into our world,
Yeah.
you know, tech that breaks the laws of physics as we know them, biology, everything. That's a huge challenge, and there could be a lot of risks, things we can't even predict.
Exactly. It would change everything, our energy, transportation, even how scientists understand the universe. We're not talking about just like plugging in a new phone. This is a whole different level.
And don't forget about the social stuff, the cultural stuff.
Yeah.
What happens to religions, to our philosophies, to how we see ourselves if we find out for sure that aliens are real? Especially if they're way more advanced than us.
It's mind-blowing, right? Like our whole history, our place in the universe, everything we thought we knew could be wrong.
It's both exciting and terrifying, for sure. But we got to talk about it. We can't just ignore it and pretend it's not happening.
So what do we do? If the government's keeping secrets, how do we make sure this knowledge, this technology is used for good, not for bad stuff?
That's the question, isn't it? I think we need a whole new way of thinking about this. More transparency, more research, more conversation between governments, scientists, and, regular people.
It can't just be a few people making these huge decisions that could affect the whole planet. We need to talk about it openly, think about the ethics, and get everyone involved. This is a global thing.
Absolutely. And the first step is admitting it's real, encouraging scientists to study it and being curious, not scared or making fun of it.
We got to move past all the stigma, the conspiracy theories, and really try to understand it with a sense of wonder.
Exactly. Be open to the unknown, not afraid of it.
We're talking about all this amazing tech, mind-blowing possibilities, but maybe the most important thing we have is our curiosity, our willingness to ask questions and be open to new ideas.
That's what drives progress, right? Wanting to understand, to explore, to see what's out there.
And who knows, maybe in the process, we'll discover something even bigger about ourselves, about our place in the universe.
I like that. It's not just about finding the truth out there. It's about finding it within ourselves, too.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap things up. We've covered a lot, from Grush's claims to the incredible potential of UFO technology. And even though we don't have all the answers, hopefully this has gotten you thinking, given you some new perspectives, and maybe made you feel a little bit of that awe, at the mystery of it all.
It's been a great conversation, and this is just the beginning, right? The truth is out there waiting for us.
So keep your minds open, keep looking up, and who knows what amazing things we might find. Until next time, everyone, stay curious.